the important takeaway in that first part is the timelines. Yeah, it's important to maintain timelines, especially when it comes to creating infrastructure, Sharad.
Yes.
And that's one thing that we've been lagging in, the creating of infrastructure. And in Ayodhya, I think we've seen a lot of infrastructure being rolled out in record time, in like 3 or 4 years. What more does the government really need to do to make religious centers accessible to people? Because, like, you know, figures are there. It says 60% of Indian tourism is primarily religious tourism.
Well, the answer lies in your question itself. You know, if 22nd January was the date fixed for consecration, I think there was a timeline there, and they were running from pillar to post to make sure that most of it is ready, if not all of it is ready. So the best way to answer your question is to set another timeline. You know, maybe by next Ram Navami, you know, have a target. Then by the next Ram Navami, have another target. By Deepavali, have another target. I think we in India, you know, we are used to working under pressure.
Yeah.
You know, we like to meet timelines, deadlines, but when there is no timeline and deadline, sometimes you're right. The pace of infrastructure development runs slow. There's no doubt about that.
Right.
But I think as far as Ayodhya is concerned, it's going to remain a focal point for a very long time. So I really don't think that slow pace syndrome is going to catch up to Ayodhya. Ayodhya will continue because the funds have been allocated, the funds have been dedicated. I mean, so far as I know, 126 new projects have been signed off already.
Right.
And they're just waiting. I mean, most of them were waiting for this day to be over because it would have created more chaos if a new project is launched while there is so much of movement around the city in such a tiny little place. So I think these 126 odd projects are going to catch up pace starting tomorrow. That's my first take. Then also, you know, Ayodhya has a population of about 3.5 odd lakhs. And it has caught up to about 5 lakhs already. So more and more people want to move to Ayodhya. I've seen this happening in, you know, a classic example is Vrindavan, which is very near to Mathura. It's about 10 kilometers from Mathura. And the number of people who moved their dwelling in Vrindavan ever since, you know, this Vrindavan corridor was declared, although it's going through some court processes, and there are some clearances which are being waited. There is some local protest also, because you have to break certain part of Vrindavan to make sure that corridor comes up. But in anticipation, people have already moved in. So this is another phenomena that the moment the place becomes more organized, more updated in terms of infrastructure, more and more people move in. So with more people moving in, that's an automatic boost to Ramonomics or Ayodhyanomics, whatever you want to call it. It just boosts naturally. You've got more people living in there. So I think Ayodhya is an exception to the slow pace. I say that Ayodhya will be bitten by the Gati Shakti. But for rest of the country, I agree there is a need to catch pace. But you know, there are limitations of resources. There are limitations of bureaucracy. There are various other limitations which have been plaguing our country for a very long time, which will take a while to go, you know, altogether.
It'll take a while to go, but Kartikeya, very interesting, the point that, you know, 4 of these centers are now in Uttar Pradesh, and Uttar Pradesh has also got Kashi, Mathura, Vrindavan, and now Ayodhya. It's got the largest number of expressways that are in construction. You think that the $1 trillion economy target that Uttar Pradesh has set could actually be met to a greater extent by these projects?
I think religious tourism can contribute a lot. I understand why Prime Minister says so. You know, Sandeep, it's easier to go to Jaffna, to go to Kandy, to Hanbandota than have a vacation in Jaisalmer in winters. It's so expensive.
It's all interconnected.
It's so interconnected. You ask me going to Goa in winters or to go to some place in Laos, I'll go to Laos, it's cheaper. But you see, when it comes to matter of faith, Kedarnath is not going to be in Cambodia. So, you know, if the experience can be nice, or for like Prime Minister 2019, what did he do? He went to Kedarnath. He made that cave. Now there is a booking of that cave for, and it runs for 6 months, 5 months. So I think he's investing a bit of himself in every religious site.
It's brand Modi. You know, I had that thing, Dina,
and
a couple of days back.
If you can organize religious, at least in Hindu context, if you can make it women friendly, women safe, child friendly, food friendly, sanitation friendly, bathrooms, and make it an experience, because there is also one more thing. In Sanatan Dharma, you can have your prayer or your puja, and then you can also be a yatri. आप एक डिवोटी भी हो सकते हैं, और कहने के मतलब आप एक भक्त भी हो सकते हैं और यात्री भी हो सकते हैं. It depends. पूजा अकेले की और यात्रा परिवार के साथ की. So you know, it will spur a different sort of economy. it's like street foods of Indore, no vegetarian.
And the Yatri in this case is Prime Minister
So
Modi.
if it is family safe, women safe, children friendly, I think then you will be able to save your foreign reserves.
Forex reserves, absolutely. And we were just talking about this recently, Kartikeya, on the fact that how when Prime Minister Modi was the Chief Minister of Gujarat, he needed Amitabh Bachchan to come and sell Gujarat tourism.
Correct.
And today he's the biggest brand in the country. There's no doubting that. And whatever he does, everyone follows.
Let me put it this way, even at the cost of sounding brash, there was a time when all the people who were sitting way beyond the reach of the cameras. Today.
Yes.
He would require them on the dais when he launched the Gujarat, that summit.
Course.
All of them were on the dais.
Right.
And and he had to organize it that way because
he was showcasing down the Saryu since then.
Today, all of them were sitting there.
Right.
And he was the only one on the dais.
So brand Modi has
life
arrived.
has come a full circle.
Life has come a full circle. But this point about the Prime Minister going and pushing Indian tourism, getting Indian tourists to visit Indian shrines, Indian beaches and all that. How does all this, mesh into this thing of pilgrimages and all that, which
well, he's doing the right thing. He's setting himself as an example why to go abroad, and he's gone ahead and said those things. Do not go to Thailand for weddings. Come to Uttarakhand for weddings. So what he's doing is he's inspiring Indians to be in India and to experience India and to do pilgrimage or tourism in India. And like you rightly said, that whenever we go somewhere, we are yatris. So wherever you go to Banaras, they'll say, "Arey, did you have that tamatar wali chaat which is in this shop, right? Did you have this lassi at this ghat?" Whether you go to Vrindavan, so in Vrindavan they say right after you get out of this temple, you must eat this food. You must go to this cave. You must go here. You must go to this temple. So, so that economy, that food, people who are fond of food, people who are fond of traveling, people who are fond of nature, their gardens, there are so many beautiful things. There is so much beauty in our country. We underestimate it, and we also have not planned it. Why? Because Indian leaders lacked a vision. Now we have a man who has a vision. He is a man with a purpose. Any man with a vision, any man with a purpose becomes a hero. We underestimate this. See, why is football so popular? You have a goal, right? And everybody will support that man who goes there. So men who have this ability to inspire others with their vision, others with their leadership abilities, they will become mass magnets. They will inspire people. Like you see the Lakshadweep thing. You saw, imagine, he's shaken up a whole country just because he took a walk in Lakshadweep and he said we should come here.
So, in fact, Sharad, this point about Prime Minister Modi leveraging brand Modi to promote tourism, religious tourism, spiritual tourism, visit India locally. What are the next steps that really need to be taken apart from the projects? Is there anything else that's really lacking, that's holding us back? We've done these stories about how it's so difficult to get to Lakshadweep, as Kartikeya mentioned. It's easier to fly into Phuket than it is to go to Lakshadweep. What more needs to be done?
Well, I think in one word, it's infrastructure. I think that's what when you travel abroad, what is the first thing you like apart from the weather and so the food and so and so forth? I think it's the infrastructure. We all have traveled abroad. The moment you land in Europe, we said, wow. And the very first sentence which every Indian family I've seen speaking is, why can't we have this in our country? What's the big deal? Why can't this cleanliness be in our country? Why can't we have toilets in our country? Why can't we have basic tourist facilities in our country the way it is in Switzerland or the way it is in any other place? Now, I think infrastructure is the magic word. And then a very important point here. We all talk of infrastructure, and I just spoke of infrastructure. But what we forget is, there has been infrastructure upgradation on a lot of sites. But we Indians, this includes me as well, we Indians fail to maintain it. I think the government can gift us an infrastructure, but it is the duty of every citizen to maintain that infrastructure.
Absolutely.
If you spit on the walls, if you desecrate the walls, if you vandalize the signages and write Pappu weds Lalita, so and so with a heart and an arrow, I think this is ruining the infrastructure. So I think infrastructure has to be backed by civil mannerism.
Absolutely.
That is what is missing. I think the people of the country have an equal responsibility. If we can ask something from the government, once the government gives, it's our duty to maintain it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I find
Sharad, I'm afraid we're completely out of time. Thank you very much for your insights. Infrastructure matters, but it really matters to maintain that infrastructure, and that calls for civic responsibilities. That's what all of us can do. Thank you very much for your insights, Sharad, Kartikeya and Neena, for joining us this evening. You can, of course, download the News9 Plus app and watch our story, RAMONOMICS, on how the Ram Temple became a money spinner for the Indian economy.
News9 Plus. Download now.